What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, I am going to be reviewing the major films that came out in the month of February. February just passed. It was the last day of February yesterday. And before I get too far behind, I want to get going on reviewing the most notable films, kind of going over the most notable films of the month of February. And I can already tell you that February is a better month than January. January, as is most Januaries over the years, January's is kind of the toilet bowl season. It's where all the crappy movies go to die, basically, or all the crappy movies go, and they're released in January. A lot of them, anyway. But the good thing is, February is better. So without further ado, I am going to get right into it. I'm going to talk about two movies that came out the weekend of February 3rd. The first one is the sequel to a popular horror film franchise, and that is Rings. It's the third film in the Ring series. The original Ring came out in 2002, and this one's the third in the series. It stars, among others, Johnny Galecki, who is best known as Leonard from The Big Bang Theory, and Vincent D'Onofrio, who's a veteran actor. So they're both in this film. And it continues off the Ring franchise and all that stuff, you know. Rings turned a pretty good profit. On a $25 million budget, it made $74.7 million. So it made its money for sure. And I think it largely made its money probably because it's a very popular franchise. Horror fans really like the Ring franchise, and it's a popular horror franchise for sure. However, critically, it got just a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. And on Rotten Tomatoes reads for this movie, Rings may offer ardent fans of the franchise a few threadbare thrills, but for everyone else, it may feel like an endless loop of muddled mythology and rehashed plot points. So, that's not a good review. That's not a good review for Rotten Tomatoes. CinemaScore, audiences kind of felt the same way, too. CinemaScore audiences gave a grade of C-. So, audiences didn't really like it. And critics hated the movie, but it made money. The next movie I'm going to talk about is a science fiction adventure film called The Space Between Us. It stars young actor Asa Butterfield. Gary Oldman, the great Gary Oldman, is in this film. Carla Gugino, who's a veteran actress, and Britt Robertson, who's a young up-and-coming actress. They're in this film. But this movie was a box office bomb. On a $30 million budget, it made just $10.4 million. Not good at all. And critically, it only received a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes reads like this: The Space Between Us strands its star-crossed young lovers in a mind-numbingly vast expanse of shameless cheese that will send all but the most forgiving viewers eye-rolling for the exits. So, critics didn't like the film. The few people that went to see this film actually gave it a high grade of A- according to CinemaScore. So, people who did see it liked the movie a lot, but critically, the critics did not like it. So that's the week of February 3rd, the notable films of that weekend. The next weekend, which is February 10th, produced 3 very different movies. I'm going to talk about all 3 of the films. They're 3 very different movies, but had some success for sure. The first one is the Lego Batman movie. It is a spin-off movie of the Lego movie that came out in 2014. The Lego movie was extremely successful. You had a lot of big-time stars, starring in that film, including Will Arnett as Batman, as the voice of Batman, Lego Batman. So now Lego Batman gets his own film, and Will Arnett returns to voice the character. Also, Zach Galifianakis plays the Joker, Lego Joker. Michael Cera plays Lego Robin. Rosario Dawson plays Lego Batgirl. Ray Fiennes plays Lego Alfred, and more. Big cast for this film. And so far, this movie has really done well box office-wise. On an $80 million budget, the Lego Batman movie has made $227.5 million so far. I don't think it's completely out of theaters yet, probably towards the tail end of theaters, but no doubt about it, the Lego Batman movie has been a success. It has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Rotten Tomatoes says that the Lego Batman movie continues its blockbuster franchise's winning streak with another round of dizzyingly funny and beautifully animated, family-friendly mayhem. So, the Lego Batman movie is very much a movie for kids. That kids can enjoy and adults can enjoy. That's why this movie has been so successful. Because it serves a dual purpose. The kids are going to come in and they're going to love the movie, and then you're going to get your adults who like comic book films that are going to enjoy this movie for sure. Cinema Score illustrates how much audiences like the film. Audiences gave the film an A- for Cinema Score, so a very good grade. Next movie I'm going to talk about is the sequel to 50 Shades of Grey, which came out 2 years ago in 2015. 50 Shades Darker. We have another one of these movies. And then we have yet another movie after this one called 50 Shades Freed, which is coming out the year afterwards. Definitely not movies that pique my interest, for sure. They're not movies that are geared towards me at all. These 50 Shades movies are just, no thank you, in my opinion. Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan star as the lead characters in this film, and they return from 50 Shades of Grey. Also, Kim Basinger, Rita Ora, the pop singer, and Marcia Gay Harden are co-stars in this film. So far, 50 Shades Darker, like 50 Shades of Grey, has been a monumental success financially. On a $55 million budget, this film has made $329.2 million, and that is a huge success. Clearly, these films have their fan base. Because 50 Shades of Grey, if I remember correctly, it made over $500 million at the box office. It was really successful. This one is the same way. Critically, however, the movie received an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes reads like this: lacking enough chemistry, heat, or narrative friction to satisfy, the limp 50 Shades Darker wants to be kinky, but only serves as its own form of punishment. Also, Cinema Score gave the film a B+, so the audiences that went to see this film really enjoyed it. But the critics really despised the film. Despite that, this movie made money. That's for sure. And then the final movie that came out the weekend of February 10th is another sequel, a sequel to a surprise hit action movie that came out in 2014, and that is John Wick Chapter 2, the sequel to John Wick. Starring Keanu Reeves as John Wick, Common, Lawrence Fishburne, John Leguizamo. So this movie is the anticipated sequel. So far, John Wick Chapter 2 has been successful. On a $40 million budget, it's made $126.6 million. So it's been successful for sure. Critically, the film has received a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe better than the first movie received on Rotten Tomatoes. A better percentage. So it's one of those rare sequels that works. And the critical consensus reads for Rotten Tomatoes, John Wick Chapter 2 does what a sequel should, which in this case means doubling down on the non-stop, thrillingly choreographed action that made its predecessor so much fun. That's a lot of praise for a sequel, for sure. I've never seen the first John Wick before, so I'm definitely going to see it at some point. But Chapter 2 did a really good job of duplicating the success if not being better than the first movie, and then in front of that, they're going to come out with a third movie for John Wick. So this is a franchise for sure. Cinema Score gave the film a grade of A- according to audiences, so audiences really enjoyed the film as well. So now the next weekend that I'm going to talk about, there's a few films. There's actually two films from the weekend of February 17th that I want to talk about here. And the first movie is The Great Wall. The Great Wall is a historical, it's a monster action film. And I gotta be honest with you, when I saw the trailers for this movie, I was kind of iffy on the film. I didn't think it would really work all that well, and I didn't like Matt Damon's character, just from the trailers. I just didn't think I think he was over the top and overacting his role and all that sort of thing. And Matt Damon's a really good actor. I just didn't think this role was right for him according to the trailer. And so Matt Damon's a guy who has to fight monsters from that try to invade the Great Wall of China. So yeah, Matt Damon and William Dafoe also star in this film. William Dafoe also stars in the film as well. So far, it's been successful. A $150 million budget for this film. The movie's made $301 million, so it's been successful. Critically, however, the film has only received a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the critical consensus reads, for a Mu Zhang film featuring Matt Damon and Willem Dafoe battling ancient monsters, The Great Wall is neither as exciting nor as entertainingly bonkers as one might hope. I've heard that this movie's boring. That may very well be the case, but I just didn't think the movie was going to be all that great from what I saw from the trailers. But audiences that did go to see this film gave the film a grade of B according to Cinema Score. So they enjoyed the film for the most part. But another low-rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes, for sure. Next movie I'm going to talk about is a comedy film, and it is Fist Fight. Fist Fight stars Ice Cube and Charlie Day as the two main characters. Charlie Day is this English teacher that inadvertently gets Ice Cube, who's a history teacher, he gets him fired. Ice Cube challenges Charlie Day's character to a fight. Hence, fist fight. Also, some notable supporting characters: Christina Hendricks from Mad Men, Jillian Bell, and Tracy Morgan also star in this film as well. Fist fight overall, on a $25 million budget, has only made $28.9 million. So, I think there's still time for it to make some more money, but thus far, it hasn't really impressed at the box office. Not yet, at least. Critically, the movie only received a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the consensus for Rotten Tomatoes reads like this: Fist Fight boasts a surplus of comedic muscle, but flails lazily, and far too few of its jokes land with enough force to register. CinemaScore gave the film a grade of B according to the audiences. So audiences that did see this film really, they enjoyed it. So yeah, this movie was a dud. And then the final weekend of February, which is February 24th. I'm going to talk about 3 movies in particular that came out that weekend. First one is an action crime drama film called Collide. Collide stars Nicholas Hoult, a name that I've heard of in Hollywood, Felicity Jones, Ben Kingsley, and Anthony Hopkins. And so, I don't really know what this film's about per se, but I've heard of it. I mean, I've heard the film and all that, and there's notable names in there, veteran actors such as Ben Kingsley and Anthony Hopkins, and then Felicity Jones and Nicholas Hoult are both young actors. So far, on a $21.5 million budget, it's only made $4.1 million. So you can characterize it as a box office bomb for sure. And it is. Critically, it only received a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes. No critical reading yet, no consensus from Rotten Tomatoes, like a little short sentence, at least on here. Actually, I can probably look it up, as a matter of fact. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I can probably bring this up, bring the critical consensus up. Actually, no, I won't do that. But yeah, this movie was very much a critical disaster. CinemaScore audiences didn't really enjoy it as much either. They only gave it a grade of C+ overall. Next movie I'm going to talk about is Get Out, which is another horror movie that came out in the month of February. Get Out, I saw previews for it on TV, and I'm not a horror fan at all. I've just never been a big horror film fan at all. You know, I just don't really find enough enjoyment in those movies to watch them. And seeing the previews of Get Out on TV, kind of thought it was unimpressive, to be honest. What's notable about this movie is that, a couple things. One thing is that it's directed by Jordan Peele, who's part of the comedy team of Key and Peele. If you don't know who they are, they're a comedy team that had their own show on Comedy Central. They have some pretty funny skits too. But Jordan Peele is the director of this film. This movie stars Daniel Kaluuya, who I've never heard of before, but some key supporting actors are Allison Williams, Catherine Keener, Bradley Whitford. So, some names I've heard of, anyway. So, Get Out, so far, on a $4.5 million budget, has made $42.4 million. It really has done, it's done well for its budget. It's really grossed a lot of money, for sure. Critically, the other thing is, critically, this film has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is amazing for a horror movie. Amazing. After 139 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That was a shocker to me. Now that some more reviews have been in, 99%. The critical consensus says, funny, scary, and thought-provoking, Get Out seamlessly weaves its trenchant social critiques into a brilliantly effective and entertaining horror/comedy thrill ride. So, this movie has just, critics fell in love with it. Audiences that went to see it gave the film an A-. So, audiences really enjoyed it. Critics really enjoyed it. It is going to be a big hit. It's probably going to be one of those movies of 2017 that people are going to talk about. And then the final movie of February that I'm going to talk about is an animated comedy film called Rock Dog. It is a Chinese-American... It's a Chinese/American animated film. I mention it because there's a lot of premium voice talent. There's a lot of... Luke Wilson, one of the Wilson brothers, brother of Owen Wilson, he stars as the main character in this film. J.K. Simmons, Lewis Black, Kenan Thompson, Matt Dillon, Sam Elliott are some of the other voice actor talents that are supporting characters in this film. So far, Rock Dog is very much a bomb on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, actually, it's very early in the process for this movie, very early. On a $60 million budget, it's made $12.2 million. Not good so far, but the movie is still going to make some money, so it may probably break about even, or maybe about close to $60 million or so. On Rotten Tomatoes, this film has received a 43% on this website, which is very mixed. The critical consensus reads, Rock Dog is amiable enough, but its second-tier animation and uninspired story add up to a movie whose meager charms are likely to escape all but the youngest and least demanding viewers. People who did go to see this, however, for audiences, gave the film a grade of B+. So it's a film that's going to appeal to a lot of the younger kids. Maybe might entertain some adults, but it's mainly a kids' movie. And that is it for February. Like I said before, February was a better month overall than what January was. Even though there were only 3 movies that I talked about that had positive percentages on Rotten Tomatoes, Get Out, the Lego Batman movie, and John Wick Chapter 2, it still was a better month overall. And just really was more impressive than January, for sure. So we're getting there. Stay tuned, because I will definitely talk about March. March looks like a very good month. March is going to be packed full of good movies, I think. You know, I think there's going to be more than 3 positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for some of these films. So yeah, that is it for the month of February. Definitely stay tuned, like I said, for the March films. March is my birthday month, by the way. So that's it for this video. D-Rock 1992 out.